Hey, all, in this video, I got to share an interview that I was on with Vanessa Rosenbaum from Pro REA Staffing. She's got a great YouTube channel. And so she wanted me to share, best practices with building a team, the different business models, the different, math and commission structures, and basically the biggest mistakes that are being made right now in team building. And then really how to really scale up something that financially serves you long term. So I hope you enjoyed the interview.
When somebody says to you, okay, Patrick, I want to grow a real estate team, what are some of the first questions you ask them? What's that initial conversation like?
Yeah, very good. And I get that all the time as a Tom Ferry coach. It's nonstop. And I've got, 70 coaching clients right now across North America. So it's a big topic. And it's evolved over time. I built a team, blew it up, screwed it up. So I also have my own personal experience with the process. So here's where I would start. I would start with what's your leadership style and what's the true outcome that you're looking for? And I think the most common mistake that I hear is I hear a lot of people saying that, hey, I want to have this fantasy where I work less and I make lots of money. And now that's not a fantasy, but they have it in fantasy land. And so we have to clarify that. Like, what does that mean to you? And do you understand what the business model is and how that would actually work? And I think that's where the conversation really starts to begin. So I think Tom brought up these kind of leadership avatars, and I'd love to hear some of your opinions about this. And this really helped me because I started to go, all right, well, are you what's called the artisan agent? Like, let's take the luxury agent for a second.
Mm-hmm.
They've got this big personal brand. Like, people want to work with them. They're the identity. They're the brand. They love working with a buyer and a seller. For that artisan agent, they're typically a little bit, for lack of better terms, narcissistic. So having team members who are buyers and sellers and salespeople actually is not great for them. They need just to build a great staff below them that just supports them, makes them look amazing, gives them tons of time back, and just gets all the marketing done, provides excellent customer service, shows up on appointments with them, coordinates everything, and just makes them look like an absolute rock star. That's the better approach for that person versus, right? Because they are such a good buyer seller that they could never pass it off a buyer or a seller to another salesperson on their team, because that would just be incongruent for their true brand, right? So I have a lot of those, and I love working with them. But they're really not great with other salespeople. But they're like brilliant real estate agents, unbelievable. Okay. The second one is really the model is kind of this Navy SEAL model is kind of what we called it, and that's where if you're the lead agent, you might become the lead listing agent, and then you might have an incredibly good buyer's agent, one or two. And then you've got an amazing staff, right? Someone who's the best transaction coordinator in town. You've got a great marketing person. You've got an amazing executive assistant that kind of coordinates all of that. You call them the admin leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really just help this team come together. And there's just a couple of them, and they are world class at what they do. So everybody on the team is world class at their category. And that also is a really very effective model, right? Then the third one is kind of this mega team, right? Where the leader is really someone. I find this a lot where it's like someone comes into the real estate business and they were previously an entrepreneur. They had a previously very successful background as a business person in some other discipline. Mm-hmm. And they come into this business and they sell a few homes and they're like, this is cool. But they're like, yeah, I want to look for that, build a business model. Mm-hmm. And that agent really is like they just really want to be the CEO, and they want to build the sales staff. They want to build the admin. They want to build the marketing, and they want to just build something. And so I find that there's really kind of these three categories successfully in the business. Mm-hmm. And then everybody who's just like, I just want to build a team because I just want to, take more vacation and have more money. That is kind of a great start to day one. But now what, right? Mm-hmm. Now we got a lot more work to do on which one of these business models makes the most sense for you, your leadership skill, your market, right? Kind of your background. Right?
I love it.
So what are your thoughts on that? Questions?
Yeah. And I can think of so many of my clients who would fit into each of those categories, and how many people put themselves in the wrong category between those different models. So I love that you're talking to agents about that, helping them figure out where do you fit in the spectrum? I guess one question that comes up for me is, what's the exit strategy for the first two types of styles? It makes sense for the mega team to be able to kind of exit out of their company, but how does that work for people who are building other types of teams?
Yeah, so that's everybody talks about this exit strategy, and they kind of fantasize about this long-term play. But, the reality is like, the artisan agent, they're probably never going to be out of real estate. They're always going to be involved because they actually truly are amazing real estate professionals who are extraordinary people inside of their marketplaces, their pillars, their influencers. These are just great pros. they're never going to leave the business. Now, you can then at some point decide to bring on a salesperson who you really respect and trust, which is a hard thing to do. And then you can just feed them the business, meaning that you're going to give up money to get some time back. And so you can run that play. And then ultimately the artisan agent, they also could, if they wanted to, sell their business to another really successful agent that they respect and or an up and coming huge one if they really wanted to run a 5-year transition out plan. And I think the book, The Golden Handoff, is really the playbook for that. So the Golden Handoff. And I think right now, a lot of agents out there, I believe that they should be looking for those retiring agents right now who have a database, who have a brand asset and respect and trust in their marketplaces. And they should be looking to try and adopt their database and help them through the next 5 years of the transition. And that's an amazing opportunity in today's market. So that is kind of the first thing that comes to my mind with that person. The Navy SEAL, they can pretty much build it to sell it if they really wanted to. If they're like the lead listing agent, then all they'd have to do is just replace themselves as the lead listing agent. And that's a pretty easy process. And now you have a saleable asset, right? You've got a scalable and saleable asset. If you left top listing agent and became true CEO, then you're replaceable, it's saleable, and it's also scalable, right? And then the big business right now, we're seeing those big businesses are being sold right now, left and right, right? So, in my market, one of the top agents, he built a small boutique brand that was highly successful, 24 salespeople. And then, Compass bought it. And, Compass and Coldwell Banker and Berkshire Hathaway, a lot of these companies are getting bought up and so there's plenty of opportunity available, but you got to really understand the business model of what you're growing, right?
Yeah. Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much for walking through that. So let's talk about the why. We talked about like the who should fit into these different categories, but let's talk about the why behind growing our team. Like, what do you see as some misconceptions there, and what are the right reasons to build this group of people around you and your brand?
Yeah, I think that, the classic fantasy of I want more time back and I want a team to create lots of profit for me to go spend my time, right? And I think this kind of goes back to that fundamental, Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant, right? Where it's like you're the employee, you're the solo entrepreneur, you're the big business, and then you're the investor. And the purpose of getting more time back while revenue is still coming in is so that if you use that time and the revenue to actually be an investor where now the money is working on your behalf. And I feel like they're not really looking at that perspective. So if you get free time back, it's not like you're just going to go on vacation forever, right? Once you come back from vacation, now what, right? And I love the way that Robert Kiyosaki said it in his cash flow quadrant book, where he said to go from a solo entrepreneur, that you are the everything of the business, which is pretty much 90% of all the real estate agents. To go from here to big business, you have to translate who you are and what you do into a system. And that's the challenge. Okay. And what he says, how you know you are a big business is you can go on vacation for a year and the income keeps coming in. And I was like, oh, that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And the gap in the middle is the system, right? It's
that's
the
right.
documenting, the system, the letting go, the delegation, a lot of the stuff we talked about in our last conversation, the stuff Kathy Metcalf does too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's very difficult to translate the who you are and the what you do into a system, which is why you need a better admin leader than just a task manager. Because someone's got to help you translate who you are and what you do and build it into a system that's then scalable and that can relieve you of your time, right? And so pay for that, guys. It's worth it, right? But now let's go back to the motivation. This is where I'm kind of working with a lot of my coaching clients on too, is I'm like, look, it's not about this fantasy of like having this business while you're on vacation. It's really about having more free time to take your money to now figure out what your investment strategy is. And so we can really be working on what your long-term investment strategy is so that we can create more financial security and stability. And since we're all in this thing called real estate, I need them to free up their time to go learn how to be better real estate investors, right? And I will say there's two things, one on the staff side and the team and one on the investment side. And please, for all my friends out there, if you bought houses in 2004 and then you had to foreclose and then now you're never going to be an investor again, that's a huge mistake. Like we need to get past that. Same thing with the people that hired their one assistant one time and it was a terrible experience and they never want to do it again, right? Like we all have to kind of go through the trials and tribulations of this process. So, but I find that a lot of agents, there's a small number of agents that are building huge amounts of financial well-being because of real estate as an asset class and as an investment. And then there's everybody else who's trying to figure out how to turn their real estate business into a long-term reoccurring revenue investment, long-term financial play. I think that's a good idea, but a huge mistake, right? And we can kind of see that today with a lot of the recruiting models with some of the stock models, some of the other business models that are enticing agents. And I see it with a lot of kind of this hire more team members. And then they believe in their mind that the recruiting model, the stock model, and the team model is a long-term financial security play. And I just want to challenge everybody, in 20 years from now, is that really the smartest thing? Like,
Yeah,
we've got this thing called real estate. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. It's a very long-term stable investment. So maybe let's play these games, but let's make sure that the outcome is something that is really truly stable, diversified, right?
I think that's so powerful. And I think you make a really good point. People think that they're going to free up their time and go on vacation. The reality is anybody who's worked hard enough to get to the point where they have a business that they can step away from, they're going to get bored pretty quickly. They need to find something else to do. And I also find that you need to start doing that other thing you want to do, because that will motivate you to put the things in place to step away from your business. Because if you don't have the other thing that you're more excited about, you're just going to get sucked back in. Right? You're just going to keep on the hamster wheel, because what else are you going to do with your time? You're not going on vacation all the time. You have kids, you have a life. You can't. Most people just can't. It's not going to happen. Exactly. So I love that. Okay, so let's talk about some of the financial models. So you talked about the J curve in our last conversation, and can you just talk about that again? And kind of, just because you add people to your team doesn't automatically mean you're going to make more money. So explain that to everybody.
Yeah, I think that, the financial model, what I've noticed is when agents decide that they're going, they kind of achieve this level of success, and then they're like, yeah, I need help. I need to hire the great admin leader. I need to bring on a sales staff because of my excess or because of my systems, which we'll talk about probably next. But what I find is when you do that, usually it's the J curve, which is things actually go, profit and business goes down first. Then if you make it around the J, it can then go exponential. And I think a lot of agents they experience the profit down first, that I hired the first salesperson and it took me forever. I gave them a bunch of business. I lost money in the process, lost all my time. And then they're like, that's a terrible idea. Stopped, went back to work. I hired the executive assistant. I spent all my time training them, lost money, lost time. And then they stopped. They never made it around to the other side to achieve the results. And I will just say that I've seen this in myself, and then I've also seen it with a bunch of my friends and coaching clients in the business, where like one of the great gals in the Tom Ferry coaching, her name's Lisa Chinati. And I was coaching with her coach, and he's a brilliant, brilliant guy. And he said something to me. He said, she's on her third evolution of the team. And I was like, oh, third evolution? Because I stopped after the first, right? And I was like, that's brilliant. And so she's kind of run this gamut a couple times to figure out exactly what the right approach is for her business, her life, her skills, her strengths. Then I also saw a good buddy of mine, Dave Robles, and because he's in my top agent mastermind. So we meet for 1 hour on Fridays, every Friday. And I remember he's a really good real estate agent. And he started off on the team path. And he would report the numbers to us. And he's like, yeah, like my income went down, and I only made this much money from the team. And then he's like, I spent a lot of time. Then the next year was like this. Like my income went down, but the team made me this much more money. And then in year 3, it went like this. Actually, I take it back. It went like this. This went up, and then this went up, because he actually spent less time with the team, yet they were more profitable. So then he went back and made more profit with his business. Now it's like right here, right? Or it's actually probably like that. And I got to see that over a 3-year run, right? Just as a friend and as a he's a great friend of mine. So I'm like, oh, that's the J curve for a real estate agent, right? It was literally like this into exponential. Now, 3 years for most agents, they're like, I can't even think that far. Well, and if you're not, that's a huge, huge mistake, right? Chasing another commission check it's not a life worth living, I don't think, in this business. It's too stressful.
No, exactly. You can't, every January comes around and you think, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this again? Start all over again. Yeah.
No, every time.
Yeah. So that brings us a perfect segue into systems, right? Systems if you're building a business, right? So how do you, when you have other people on the team, when you have salespeople on your team, what kind of additional systems or processes do you need to implement so that you feel like, oh, this is repeatable and duplicatable?
Yeah. So one of the things that I recognized with Dave, which was brilliant, which is he built a geographic farm system, a lead gen system that he perfected himself. And then what happened was everybody he recruited onto his team did exactly what he was doing with his geographic farm in their territories. He has a open house buyer conversion system, because I've worked with him on it, and we've brainstormed it inside and out. It is exact. Do this, do this, do this, do that, offer that, put your sign in here. This is the scripting. It's really to perfection. So he built a lead generation system that works, right? And so I think the most important thing to do, and the biggest mistake right now in hiring sales people, is we don't have perfected lead generation systems from start to finish that convert. And we have to model it. That's the key thing. big mistake I made. I remember when I started my team, I was like, oh, I can buy all these leads and I got this cool, clever, cute CRM. And so I can hire team members to come work this thing and they can hang out with me and I'm so cool and it's going to be so rad and our team brand is so good. Yeah, it worked. I can recruit a lot of people. But then when I went and just pushed them over into this model over here that I wasn't a master of, but I'm a great real estate trainer and I could do this. No, totally bombed. And after the fact, I realized it's because I didn't have a clear system of conversion and I couldn't show people the evidence of it. Hey, look, you do these things. Here's how much money you make. And what we do is we do conceptually. We say, well, if you work this thing, you could, if you did one commission check a year with our split, you'd make that much money. We talk in terms of philosophy concept versus, hey, if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and oh, by the way, why don't you come with me this week and I'll show you what I do and I'll show you how I did it. And if you want to come on board and work with me and work the system together, great. But if you don't want to do it, no problem, no harm, no foul. See you later. And I think that's the big challenge today. And what I work on every day with my clients is, what is your lead generation system and how does it work? And they're like, I don't know. I sell houses. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm having a happy dance in my head right now listening to you, Patrick, because oh my goodness, do I have these conversations with clients all the time. And the other thing that happens is they hire this buyer's agent first while they're figuring stuff out, like we talked about. And then they have a hot mess on their hands. And then they're trying to get an assistant in there to sort everything out and get everybody on the same page. And, they're trying to build a plane while they fly it. And
That's
it
right.
all implodes and crashes and burns.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not for a lack of good talent skill and it's for lack of time. You just can't juggle all those things at the same time and be successful. And so the time just gets sucked in so many different directions. You're just not good at any of it. You're not good with your own past client sphere. You're not good with your own lead gen. And then you're not good with the assistant and you're not good with the team member because you just gave all of them not enough of your attention and time. And so it just falls apart. And it's not for a lack of talent, skill, and ability. It's just for a lack of, you don't have the capacity to deal with all those big projects at the same time.
Yeah. And also it comes down to standards and expectations. Like you said, I know for a fact, if you make this number of calls, you should get to this point. And if you're not, then we know there's a training or there's motivation or there's an issue. But if you don't have a standard, if you don't know what the performance level is supposed to be, how do you know if your buyer's agents are performing? And guess what? You're still paying for all those leads. And so that's one of the huge complaints I hear from agents is, well, they just don't convert as well. I'm losing so many leads. Well, there's things you can do to put that back into place.
Yeah, it's clear as day. Those that are leading from the front in the conversion model are the winners. And or they hire a sales manager to be a pro at helping them every day and holding them accountable to it. And or you actually get a lead kind of like a Zillow connection call. Mm-hmm. Like a Zillow connection call has the capacity of a 1 out of 10 conversion model. And so, people don't understand what the conversion rates of the different lead generation systems are. And we all, and it pisses me off every day, all of my real estate friends, we were all sold a bill of goods by all of these lead generation systems and companies out there. And we all spent a fortune and lost a huge amount of money and time because we really didn't understand the true conversion rates. Mm-hmm. And so that's the problem, is only the good agents who can show it and demonstrate it. They understand. They're like, look, these skills plus this environment in the basic math, watch me, let me show you, this is how this works. And it converts at this. Mm-hmm. And everybody can do that. They win. Everybody who's like, hey, I just paid for this thing. And they said, it's really good. Yeah. Come on board and go work it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some of the other value propositions that a team should consider offering when they're going to bring agents on. So leads is a big one, but what else do buyers agents look for when they're looking for the right team to join?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's, what we discussed right there, which can you demonstrate a lead generation system that actually works, that you're doing it, and then they would just model it. They would just follow your lead exactly as it is. If you can do that, that's what they're all looking for. That's number one. And then number two is they need a brand identity that they can lean on to help them out in the public to have more confidence to say, hire me. Mm-hmm. Right. So they need a brand identity. And so in my team salesperson, agreement, I basically say, look, your job is to leverage our brand to go out into the public to be able to help you confidently convert more clients. Mm-hmm. And if this is not a win-win for you with us, then this you don't need to pay. You don't need to give me money. Right. Okay. So that's a huge, some people need that confidence booster. I remember when we were looking at joining, it was either Keller Williams or Sotheby's. And I was helping my father-in-law and my wife. At that time, I was not on their team. And I was like, the decision is this: do you need the Sotheby's brand to give you confidence when you're on an appointment in the luxury market so that you can go convert? Or do you want to work on building a team? And they chose we need more confidence. We need a brand identity that gives us more confidence to go convert the thing. And then once you have it, you're good to go. But it's really valuable. Number three is They need an administration system, a team of admin that can help them take all of the administration away and give them way more confidence that the right thing will be done, so that I can go out into the general public. I can go to my parents, my sister, my brothers, my best friends and say, hey, I'm newer, I'm not that successful, but I've got you. Your transaction, you working with me, will be 1000% taken care of, because I've got, Susie, who's the best transaction coordinator in all of San Diego. I've got Bobby, who is one of the best, marketing coordinators. And I've got, Kai and Carly, who are some of the most successful real estate agents in town. I've got them as my support system to make sure you are going to be successful. And I can work with you because you're working with us. And they need to have that. And the biggest problem I see right now with too many kind of agents who go on a team is they're not recognizing that that's the value. Either I'm going to go learn a model, or I need that brand identity to build my confidence. And then I need that support staff and system to give me the confidence to go speak to a stranger and say, you should absolutely hire me to help you achieve the goal, period, end of story. Because I've got all of the support to make sure that you win and you'll be taken care of, right? Perfect. And that's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about financial models. What, if you're offering all of that to a buyer's agent, what kind of splits should you expect to pay?
Yeah, so this is a really big question, and there's a lot of variables here. So let's just eliminate this whole everybody should be on a 50-50 split. That any kind of broad stroking is a disaster. Okay. So what you have to look is you have to look at really what you have to offer. And if I am offering a lead generation system that I know if they follow my lead, it will convert. Well, since I'm already going to do it, then there's more room here financially for us to play with, right? So you're going to model me. So that could be a 50-50. If I say, I'm going to show you how to do this thing and it's going to make you money and you're going to follow me along the path, I would certainly charge you 50-50. Now I could scale it and charge, charge more of just like the 25 or 35%. I could do that, but I would only do that if I was saying something along the lines of, I will consult and coach you through that process. I will train you through that process. You come in, you execute the system, but I'm not going to go on appointments with you. And I can't be responsible for kind of coaching you on the one-on-one really with each individual client. See, what I learned is I have to manage my time. And so it's a trade-off. If you want me to give you more of my time, I got to charge you more. If I can scale my training and I can scale the system, that means I get more time back. I'll charge you less, right? Because my time is really valuable to me. And I just have that conversation with them. Okay. If I give them a client, I have excess clients, or I build a system where I do a buyer consultation and I take the person at the buyer consultation, I just hand them off to the agent, right? That I can charge the highest percentage, because all they're doing is they're just going and finishing the deal off, right? And so to me, it's really, you got to really look at, well, what model are you running here, right? Now, add to the complexity of this is, the Zillow Flex and the realtor.com and these real high cost environments that are really expensive, right? And then you've got your team and you've got your infrastructure. And this is where literally we've got to do some serious math. Right. And so I have a coaching client who's going into Flex right now. He's earned it. He's very successful with Zillow for many, many years. And I said, I need you to do the math. You need to look at every single thing, and we need to do a P&L, and we need to look at how these numbers are going to play out and how this is going to work, because the illusion of, well, I'm no longer paying this monthly out, but now I'm paying this much per transaction. And when you're a successful player, then that's more expensive than that. So now how's this math going to play out when you're talking to a team member? Now, thankfully, we're in an escalating price point environment. And so per transaction, there's more commission available. So that's the good news. But if that ever gets shaky at all, we've got to really rethink this thing, because, 35% off the top, plus a team member, plus staff, plus me, that's where it starts to get interesting. So it really starts to become math models, which I'm not a total math guy, but, we just start looking at the numbers of the P&L and go, okay, what can we do here? And then it's also, how much time, how good is your system and how much time are you willing to commit over here? And we need to really kind of map that. So I offer, if a team member comes on, I'm like, look, if I give you a client, it's a 50-50. If I have to go on the appointment, 50-50. But if you self-generate and you use my brand, you use my resources, 25%, because I kind of want the hands off personally, right? I don't want to be in the day-to-day with them, trying to make sure I'm going on appointments and prospecting with them. So I'm going more of I just want to, leverage having great people work with me model. Right. And having good people around, and I'm not attached. You can stay one day or you can stay 5 years. I don't care, because I'm doing my thing. And if you want to come do it with me and we can create good synergy, here's how these numbers play out. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm being appropriate for them on my time and make sure that they feel good about the value that they're getting. And if you accomplish that, you're winning. Right. I think everybody's kind of following like a rigid model, but that's not based upon sound principles for them personally and their business. It's falling apart.
Yeah,
daily.
so I love that. I love that. And I love that you're not taking a cookie cutter approach and looking at the individualness of it. And also that you're getting them to really think about the value of their time, which is so easy to give away. I always like to calculate, I do this on an annual basis. So what is my hourly rate? And then I look at, is this worth my time or not? And how much time am I giving to this? And, agents need to do that too, right? And then really think, like, if you spend 5 hours a week with this person over the course of the year, how much money have you given away, right?
That's right.
So perfect. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about are just some common mistakes, things that you see that you wish people would do differently, whether that's under leadership or as they're building a team under the fundamentals or strategy. Like, what are you seeing that if you wanted to get the word out, stop doing this thing? What would it be?
Well, there's two things. There's one thing that you and I've discussed, which is really becoming a student of leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Becoming a student of building culture, building systems, and a lot of really highly successful entrepreneurs. They built the what they do and how they do it and to this high standard, but they don't know how to translate it into a system. And then how to empower people to execute that system and build people's lives within the system that you built. That is leadership skills. So I think you and I have discussed this. It's becoming a student of leadership, culture, mentoring, coaching, training, and building systems and building models and, having fun looking at this whole world of going from solo entrepreneur to big business. That's number one. And then the thing that I'm selfishly asking agents to do is to really look at the education marketing model, i.e. what we're doing today, and really looking at the content education model for a real estate pro and figuring out how to use that model to grow and expand their business and then to monetize it in a variety of different ways. That to me is the most exciting thing that I'm personally working on, not only for myself, but with all my coaching clients. And the very simple, easy example of this that I can call it right out, which is the stupidity of BombBomb videos being sent to your database versus a YouTube video link being sent to your database.
Okay, talk more about that. So explain to everybody why the YouTube video is so much more powerful.
Well, I'm going to keep it simple in math, right? There's a gal, I think her name is Christina Smallhorn. She has about 150,000 subscribers on YouTube right now as a real estate agent and as a real estate authority. And I think she's generating, I'm just guessing, between $15,000 a month in ad revenue from YouTube. $15,000 a month. Okay. So wait a minute. The YouTube channel is making her $15,000 a month independent of commission checks. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Because if I look at all of the agents and how many BombBomb videos they did and how many viral videos they sent out to their database that they got 0 on. They've created a huge amount of content. How much content we've created onto Facebook, Instagram. We've created all this content in ways on platforms and inside of systems that have no leverage. And so that's the big deal right now. It's like, wait a minute. A, we created content that never converted a client, i.e. you're just promoting yourself, not really helping people. And then B, we're not looking at the platforms for what they are and how they work and how to build revenue streams on top of them. And so right now, that's kind of the big play that I'm like, gosh, we got to solve this real quick. Because everybody wants to how do I build a brand in a way that people will call me, as the veteran agents say, my phone's not ringing. Right. That's what they say to me. Yeah, I know it's not ringing. Right. And one of my great coaching clients this morning, she said, in the beginning, I used to just do so much just listed, just sold. I'm at an open house marketing. And now she's doing real education marketing and she's getting clients nonstop. Mm-hmm. People are calling her and say, I want to work with you. I watched that video. That makes sense. The last agent I talked to didn't say anything about those things. And then now I'm just helping her leverage the content model to build multiple streams of revenue from that versus just, can I use content and marketing, create another commission check? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. But why don't we leverage the same thing, right?
Why don't we also build other profit centers from the content that we're creating and the platforms that we're choosing? Yeah. So that's the exciting thing to do.
That is exciting. So thank you for landing. That's a great place for us to end. And that kind of segues into who should contact you and who do you like to coach? Who's your ideal client?
Yeah, that actually is my ideal client right now. I need to create more case studies of people that I helped do the content model and to help them build huge businesses through real estate education, right? And so I'm looking for people that are committed educators and want to learn how to use that to leverage and build the business. Other than that, if you just want to follow me, the YouTube channel is really the main place to go. And then I am doing I try and get a once a week kind of newsletter out where I'm just looking at the best ideas, my latest content, best strategies. And I look at all the resources, you'll be in the next one. I'll be like, hey guys, make sure that you check this video out and check, you know what I mean? So it's I'm just trying to collect as much as I can, just send that off to everybody. I try to get it out once a week, but every once in a while I miss a week.
Yeah.
So that's the best place
Wrong
to go.
and stuff happens. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Well,
I need a better admin leader. Thank you very much.
Yes, you do. You do. You gotta have another call.
A marketing coordinator, as you taught me, right?
Yep, yep,
So thank you.
exactly. Gotta get that staff in place. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. And you guys check out the links below. Lots of great resources. I'm going to include Kathleen Metcalf's, excuse me, her information as well. The piece that we talked about between being a sole agent and having a business and needing systems in between, Kathleen Metcalf can pull all of that information out of your head and develop your systems for you and document them. So that could be a missing piece for you. So I'll put her information down there as well.
Yes, and I recommend that too. That's who I use.
Awesome. All right,
Cool.
take care. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.